At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, SiriusXM Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates around the country. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. Bleck and Abdalla here with you live from Chicago until 3 Eastern. You can call or text the show at 310-840-4910. Lots to get to today on the show, Abdalla. We do have breaking news in the NFL per Field Yates on ESPN. He is reporting that the Texans have exercised their 2027 fifth-year options for quarterback C.J. Stroud and also defensive end Will Anderson, per sources. So C.J. Stroud is now due $25.9 million in 2027, and Will Anderson is due $21.5 million this upcoming season. So both players are now extension eligible. C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson getting their fifth-year extensions. Now, it's obvious that you would do this with Will Anderson, but you and I have talked about C.J. Stroud in the backslide of production that we've seen from the quarterback for the Texans in the last year or so, and question whether or not the Houston Texans need to have a perhaps backup plan or some other type of plan to figure out their quarterback situation. So fifth-year extension to C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, obviously that Will Anderson is going to get a deal, and I think that he's going to be, I don't know if he's going to be one of the highest paid defensive players in the NFL, but that defense for the Houston Texans is what carried them as far as they were able to go in the playoffs last year. It was obvious that C.J. Stroud was turning the ball over left and right, taking bad sacks. When he was getting sacked, he was throwing the ball to the other team. Like, he was just a regression machine the last couple of years. He had a remarkable first year as a quarterback.
He really did.
Rookie season was great. You know, they went deep into the playoffs, and you were like, this is C.J. Stroud is a quarterback that could be one of the future faces of the NFL. And then all of a sudden, this backslide that you've seen the last couple of years has been a problem. And the Texans have a decision to make. This is the first part of the decision was made today to pick up the fifth-year option. That's the no-brainer, because it gives you this year, obviously, to figure it out. And you don't want to go into next year in a sort of lame duck year with C.J. Stroud. The goal would be is that C.J. Stroud returns to form of his rookie year. His offensive line improves, which was a lot of the problem. A lot of the problem the last 2 years has been the inconsistency of the Texans' offensive line and the inability to keep him upright. Now, sacks are a quarterback stat mostly, so if he would get rid of the ball a little bit faster, avoid those sacks, and not turn the ball over, his numbers would improve and the team would play better. The playoff loss entirely on him, not on the defense. The defense did everything they could to keep the Texans in that game. He's the one, C.J. Stroud, that cost them that football game. And so if he can return to form, this is a guy that's not necessarily going to reset the quarterback market, but I think he's due a pretty healthy deal if he can return to that rookie quarterback form. The problem is if he doesn't, the Texans have a very difficult decision to make. Maybe not this year. Maybe you just go into the fifth year on a lame duck year with C.J. Stroud and say, hey, you've got one more year to figure this out, and we're going to risk it. And if you play well,
right,
you may go to the highest bidder or us, and there's the franchise tags available and all that. There's different ways where they can keep him around if they need to and negotiate a long-term deal. The NFL has afforded teams that option. But I would say the Texans are going to go into this year, obviously without an extension, and maybe even next season without an extension of C.J. Stroud, just to see, because he is the biggest unknown going into this season. Is he going to continue to backslide, or are we going to get a return to form of that rookie year C.J. Stroud that we haven't seen in a while?
Yeah, and when we look at the news, so ESPN is reporting C.J. Stroud, Will Anderson both get their fifth-year options picked up. Now, it's not necessarily news that the Texans are going this route. It's just confirming that this is the route that they're going. And I think you and I both agree this is the way Houston has to play this, right? Like, you can't just commit right now. You have to hope that in this upcoming season, C.J. Stroud takes a step forward and gets back on track that we thought that he was going, where after his rookie season, a lot of people were pointing to C.J. Stroud being one of, like, the next great quarterbacks in the NFL. That first season in 2023, he had 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, a completion percentage of 64. In 2024, same completion percentage, but 20 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. And then last season, completion percentage, the same, 64%. So, I mean, that's essentially what he is. He's a 64% completion percentage quarterback. 19 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, but also last year, he had fumbles. He had 18 fumbles last season. And you mentioned in the playoff game on the road against the Patriots that his ability to just offer up on a silver platter the football for the New England defense, it was atrocious. They were in that game. They could have won that game if they had a quarterback who would just hold on to the football. So I think the path here, it makes sense. You need to know for sure that C.J. Stroud takes another step forward before you give him the mega payday, because that's how quarterbacks work, right? When C.J. Stroud's up for this contract, whatever he signs, it will be in the ballpark of one of the largest contracts ever given out to a quarterback in NFL history. That's just how it works. When you're a top-level quarterback and you sign that new deal, it will be for top dollar. And you might argue with us he's not worth it, but that's just the going rate. So the Texans now have to figure out over the next year whether or not it's worth it to give that money and that commitment to C.J. Stroud, or does he continue to take steps backwards? And then it would line into the tricky situation of, do you franchise tag the player? Do you let the player walk for nothing? Do you trade the player? And that's where Houston's at. And obviously, Will Anderson will get a big deal. Yeah. He's one of the best edge rushers in all of football. Yeah. So he'll be taken care of. But with the Texans, it's a quarterback play that they have to figure out.
Yeah, and look, in this offseason, they signed David Montgomery to try to take some of the pressure off of C.J. Stroud as a running back. But I think that it starts with this offensive line. And if they can stay healthy and play better than they did last year and the year before, then I think that C.J. Stroud can play a little bit better than he did the last couple years. He's got some decent weapons and Nico Collins. And so he's got guys out there that can catch the football and perform well for him. The issue is going to be what he can do moving forward. Is this all of a sudden he turns into a top 15 quarterback again this year, and you go to him this offseason between 26 and 27 or after the Super Bowl in 27, and you go, hey, we want to extend you before that fifth year kicks in, which is what most teams do. Most teams will go to their quarterback, their rookie quarterback, or that rookie deal expires, and say, hey, before we get to this fifth year, let's rip this up or just add an extension onto that, because then you're not playing on that final year of that deal. If he continues to slide, if I'm the Texans, I say, no, we want more evidence. We want more data. Go out there and play, and we will risk it. I'm willing to risk it if I'm the Texans, because, look, if he goes out and he lights it up, then sure, whatever. You give him a rich deal, and that's a risk you're willing to take. And if he ends up, you end up going to the AFC Championship game or whatever, then that's fine. That's a risk you're willing to take because you've gotten that deep into the playoffs, and then you just have to pay for it because you're paying a franchise quarterback to an extended contract. And if not, that's when you have a decision to make. The problem is with this defense, if they need to move on from C.J. Stroud, which I don't think they're going to need to, they're not really in a place to like draft a top 10 quarterback or draft a top 5 quarterback in a couple of years. They're going to be like right in the middle somewhere, and they'll probably just end up giving C.J. Stroud not a top line of the deal, not a number 1 quarterback deal and make him the highest paid quarterback or the most guaranteed money in the NFL, but it'll be, somewhere in the top 10 of deals in the last like top 5 of guys that have signed recently. He's not going to reset the market, and that'll be fine because he's not one of those guys. He's not a top 10 guy, and he doesn't deserve top 10 money.
Yeah, it's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So that's the latest news in the NFL. Fifth-year options picked up for the Texans on C.J. Stroud and Will Anderson. We also had news yesterday in regards to the NFL draft, which we are just about 3 Thursdays away from. Tomorrow will be 3 weeks away from the NFL draft, Thursday, April 23rd. You'll listen to the NFL draft. You'll see the NFL draft, all of the first round there on that Thursday night. Bleck Abdalla, we will be live in Pittsburgh on Thursday and Friday of the NFL draft broadcasting our show. So we can't wait to get there. And Abdalla, how about this? First overall pick, the player who everyone has tagged as the number one guy. He has been on the record to say that he's already learning the Las Vegas Raiders playbook. He was in the building yesterday. Fernando Mendoza will not be attending the NFL draft. Your thoughts? Is this good or bad for the NFL? I think when we look at this year's draft, you and I are really into the NFL draft. We love breaking it down. We love looking at the team options. We look at the players, all of the comps. I love that stuff. I'm really into it. But I get it that some casuals, football fans, may look at it and say, well, there's not really a lot of great quarterbacks coming out this year. And the one guy who we all know is great, and we just watched in college football at Indiana win a national title and the Heisman, he's not showing up at the draft. I could see that not being a great thing for the NFL. I'm surprised that this is the decision being made by Fernando Mendoza, that he won't be in attendance in Pittsburgh.
So the last number one overall pick that didn't attend was Trevor Lawrence. Didn't go to the NFL draft as well. I think that this is not ideal for the NFL because this is the guy. This is the guy.
He's the storyline.
He's the draft.
I know there's a little percolating under behind the scenes of Ty Simpson trying to shine that up into big storyline.
That's funny because I was watching.
It's Mendoza. Mendoza's the guy.
Like so in the studio where we're broadcasting out of here in Chicago, we've got TVs in here. One of them's on ESPN, and they're showing commercials for the draft, right?
Yes.
And when you show the draft, they're showing 4 players that they're hyping up.
All right, let me guess. Jeremiah Love.
Yes.
Okay. Fernando Mendoza.
Yes.
Ty Simpson.
Yes.
Carson Beck.
No.
Oh. Who's the
so
fourth?
the order is of the commercial is Fernando Mendoza.
Okay.
Arvell Reese.
Okay.
Ty Simpson. Love.
Jeremiah Love. Okay, so they're kind of
but we don't know if Ty Simpson's a first-round player or not.
No, but he's
a quarterback.
He's the intriguing player that we will see.
Yes.
And even if you don't think he's a first-round guy, he's going to go within the first 6 or 7 picks of the second round.
Of course he is. It's just funny how it's being marketed as Ty Simpson is like this guy that's right up there with Fernando Mendoza and Arvell Reese. Like Reese is a top 5 guy, top 3 guy, maybe. And Ty Simpson and Jeremiah Love is a top 5 guy. He's not going to get out of the top 5. And Ty Simpson is Ty Simpson is all the way down at the bottom somewhere.
And he's here also.
Maybe he's there.
He might be the first quarterback off the board who's actually in person.
Maybe.
We don't know if he's going to show or not.
We don't know. We know that Fernando Mendoza has decided to enjoy the draft with his friends and family.
All right, so that's Mendoza's decision. He was there getting his official visit with the Raiders yesterday. Also, the Raiders reported to the offseason program yesterday. Max Crosby was in attendance. So that's a little awkward, right? You go back to your ex's house after the big blow up and you knew that you're moving on. And then,
the parents are there.
Have to show back up.
She's told her parents that your guys are breaking up and everything. And it's like,
she talked trash about you for days about how bad of a boyfriend you were. And then, hey, but welcome back in, back into the mix. So Max Crosby was there. Also, Tom Brady made an appearance yesterday at the Raiders facility.
Fox broadcaster Tom Brady made an appearance. Oh, you mean minority owner Tom Brady?
Yes.
Made an appearance at the Raiders facility?
Yes.
That's nice of him to show up and meet with his future quarterback, even though they signed quarterback Kirk Cousins as well last week.
Yes.
So I want to know how this went. Was this handshake meeting between Fernando Mendoza and Tom Brady a meeting to say, hey, listen, we know what happened last week. Kirk Cousins is going to be around, but you're going to start? Like, what's the plan? Was this to lay out the plan for Fernando Mendoza and to know what's going on? Because if I'm Fernando Mendoza, I want to know what the hell's going on.
What, does Mendoza strike you as like an arrogant kid?
Absolutely not.
No, I'm sure I'm sure he's thrilled that Tom Brady was there and Kirk Cousins is there and that they're gonna teach him along the way. Like, I think Fernando Mendoza is the type of kid that he wants that. Now, the competitive side, I'm guessing it will be very early on where they will know that he's the better football player than Kirk Cousins.
Oh, look, I think his athletic ability will show that he can move better. He can everything about him. He's younger, he's faster, he's stronger than anything Kirk Cousins has to offer. And so you're right, I'm sure. But the problem is, if you are naming Cousins the starter, and they haven't done any of that yet, but if he's getting first team reps and training camp and OTAs and all of that is taking away from the development of Fernando Mendoza. Everything that you do,
absolutely,
that is progressing Kirk Cousins to start week 1 is taking away from the development of Fernando Mendoza to start for you eventually.
So, Tom Brady, what do you say you do here as a partial owner of the Las Vegas Raiders? Kirk Cousins was on Good Morning Football, and he said that Tom Brady played a big role with him signing with the Raiders.
I understand his vision for the organization and kind of what he saw up ahead and if I would be a good fit for it or not. And I got off the call and I called my wife. I said, that was a really life-giving call with Tom. You know, he gets it. He's been where I've been and then some. And I think he understands what it needs to look like, what it will look like. And I felt really like a shot in the arm, after talking to him. And I felt like that was a big nudge for me to come to Vegas. And then he was in the building yesterday for our first OTA day. Didn't expect that, but he stopped by the quarterback room and was able to kind of catch up with him in the cafeteria. So, and he just wants to be a resource. I don't know that he's going to be around all the time, but he's always a phone call, text away. And I think, to have a guy who's won 7 Super Bowls, a phone call or a text away, who's embedded in your organization, it's got to be a positive.
Kirk Cousins on Good Morning Football talking about Tom Brady. If that's what he does, he's hanging around every once in a while.
If the Raiders want to be successful, and if Tom Brady wants the best return on his investment, and that would be this franchise turning around and being successful, what he can do is not necessarily work with Kirk Cousins, but as soon as Fernando Mendoza is drafted and you can work with him and start coaching and do all that. I'm not saying that Tom Brady needs to become a coach, but like Cousins just said, he won 7 Super Bowls. He's the best quarterback of all time, arguably. Like, you need to be working with Fernando Mendoza. That's it. If you're investing the capital into Fernando Mendoza and you think he's the guy, then it is on Tom Brady. It is his job. It is his duty as a minority owner to invest his time into giving whatever knowledge he can to Fernando Mendoza to make him as good as fast as possible. Because don't you want this team to be, like, if Tom Brady invested in this, don't you want them to be good?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So he should be around the facility and he should be imparting his wisdom onto Fernando Mendoza. Why wouldn't you?
If we were to compare Mendoza to a current player or a player of a recent time in the NFL, what would be the best comp for Fernando Mendoza? We'll tell you that next.
At Augusta, the pines stand tall, the azaleas are in bloom, and history waits with every swing. The Masters begins Thursday, and we're live from Augusta. Hear every moment on the Westwood One Sports app from Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
All right, so as we head towards the NFL draft, if I told you you have the number one pick and there's a quarterback to select for the number one pick and your team sucks, your team needs a quarterback, what do you have to get out of that quarterback to feel like it was worth that number one pick? Right? Like, how great does that player have to become to make it worth it? You know, we can look at all the different quarterbacks in the NFL that were selected number one overall and the different outcomes of careers, you know, from anywhere from Trevor Lawrence to Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, right? Some past number one picks. A couple of those guys, the most success that they've had with a team has come in a second location. You know, Baker Mayfield and Matthew Stafford. I know Stafford put up borderline Hall of Fame numbers, you know, to get him to the Hall of Fame in Detroit.
Yeah.
But Stafford really, in the last few years with the Rams, has accelerated that conversation into he's going to be a Hall of Fame player. He's won a Super Bowl. It's Stafford is now looked at differently than what he was with the Lions. Trevor Lawrence is coming into his own. I thought last season was a really good season for Trevor Lawrence. I don't think he's lived up to the massive expectations that we all put on him coming out of college. The book on Trevor Lawrence was that this was the highest rated recruit going into college and then into the NFL that we've seen since Andrew Luck.
Mm-hmm.
And since, if you don't go to Andrew Luck, if you go farther back, you're talking Peyton Manning or John Elway, right? Like, those are the three great prospects that got to college and then into the NFL where it was like, this guy is different. Lawrence hasn't lived up to that. I think he's going to be really good. So when we look at this year's number one pick, the Las Vegas Raiders, and we look at the player, Fernando Mendoza, what's the comp? And is the comp going to, at the end of the day, live up to the selection of a number one quarterback taken number one overall in the NFL draft? Right? So here's the comp. We have this article here on ESPN.com looking at the favorite prospects and matching up pros and comparing them and finding names to match. For Fernando Mendoza, if you're a Raiders fan, would you be happy if he turned into Matt Ryan? Matt Ryan was an MVP.
Yeah.
But the Falcons never really won anything. They got to a Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
But that's it. I know Matt Ryan had a really great career.
Yeah. His the most touchdowns he threw in a year were 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. It's a pretty good year. I would say that if in this era, Matt Ryan is a decent comp. If I'm the Raiders and I look at what Fernando Mendoza did in college, winning a national championship, and you're coming in as the number one pick in this draft, and you're like the only quarterback. But you also have to temper your expectations a little bit because everybody else is also saying, but if Fernando Mendoza were to be selected in next year's draft with Arch Manning and Dante Moore, or if he were to be in last year's draft with Cam Ward, or if he was in the year before's draft with Caleb Williams and Drake May and J.J. McCarthy and all those guys, and Jaden Daniels, that he wouldn't be anywhere near. He would be behind all of those players. So I think when you put it into context, yes, he is a number one pick this year. He's the number one overall pick this year. But this is a bad year, I would say, to have the number one pick and need a quarterback. If you had the number one pick next year, probably better. Last year, a little better. 2 years ago, great. You've got your pick of Caleb and Drake and Jaden and whoever you want, right? So I think that putting yourself into that context, Matt Ryan is a decent comp. If you would have told me that the year that the Bears selected Caleb Williams and his ceiling was Matt Ryan, I'd have been pissed. You know? Next year, if Arch Manning's comp is Matt Ryan, no offense to Matt Ryan, I'm kind of upset because I want higher than that. You know, I want more. But again,
you're right, because the way I view it is Matt Ryan, great football player. With that said, of all of the great quarterbacks that we've seen in the last 20 years, it's like the least. I'm underwhelmed with Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to me, Fernando Mendoza, not to say that he's just like the quarterback that they just signed, the Raiders, that is, and Kirk Cousins, I feel like he's a more athletic Kirk Cousins.
Okay, would our opinion be changed if
it was a different player? Yes.
No. If Matt Ryan and the Falcons had won that Super Bowl,
if they beat the Patriots,
if they hadn't
have
blown
the legendary choke job,
yes, if they had not blown the lead and won that Super Bowl, would we have a different opinion of this comp to Matt Ryan because he'd have a ring, he'd have a Super Bowl, and we could say,
probably.
Matt Ryan won a Super Bowl. Fernando Mendoza is going to come in, and if that comp is you win a Super Bowl and you're an MVP and you put up a bunch of great numbers and you play for over a decade, that's a great career. And we're talking of Hall of very good to maybe Hall of Fame because you go from not having a ring to having a ring, but you also suffered the most legendary choke job in Super Bowl history. Like that 28-3 third quarter lead is infamous. So the fact that you're part of that detracts from your legacy as a quarterback. So I would want more from my quarterback than Matt Ryan. That's why when people say Matt Ryan, they're like, no, that's good. I'm like, no, it's not. I want more from my quarterback than Matt Ryan. I'm sorry.
Because if you look at just Super Bowl winning quarterbacks and you look at recent history of the quarterbacks who have acquired Super Bowl rings, we're talking like Joe Flacco, Russell Wilson, Nick Foles, Stafford, who we were talking about, Jalen Hurts, Sam Darnold now. You know, there are quarterbacks who have the two-timers like Patrick Mahomes who are on the list. There are guys like I guess the point is you're right. We probably would view Matt Ryan a little differently if they won that Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't necessarily take anything away from Tom Brady's legacy.
No.
It would just...
He's got 6 instead of 7.
No, but it just adds to his legacy the way that they came back and they won that Super Bowl.
Of course.
So you're right. I just think that when you look at the comps and you look at the player, I think overall it's that it is the best quarterback of this year's draft. Now in the article on ESPN.com pointing out the comps, this is where it gets interesting. Arvell Reese is comped to Micah Parsons.
Yeah.
Okay, so if that's the case, if Arvell Reese can become Micah Parsons, the hell are you doing drafting Mendoza? You see what I'm saying? Like I don't know if I'm that impressed with Fernando Mendoza that I would pass up possibly taking the next Micah Parsons.
Well, and this is why months ago, when you got into combine season and all of this stuff, I wouldn't have been surprised if the Raiders started to put out there that maybe they weren't, that they were feeling or that they were picking up the phone, that they were talking to the Jets to move down or the Cardinals to move down to number 3, one of those teams, because just because you need a quarterback doesn't mean you have to take this quarterback. And They proved it. Because they signed Kirk Cousins. They signed the guy that the day before we were talking about as an option for the Steelers.
Yeah.
In case Aaron Rodgers decides to never come out of his cave and make a decision.
Is he still in there?
Well, we know he's got cell phone service in there because him and Mike McCarthy seem to be talking every day.
Chatting.
But he hasn't made a decision about whether or not he wants to play. He wants to play because we would know if he didn't, I think. I hope. I don't know. But that was and now you've signed Kirk Cousins. So now what? And you've got Fernando Mendoza in the building, and he's got his hand on the playbook, or he's got the iPad or whatever. I don't even know if that's legal, but who cares? It's the Raiders. The NFL apparently doesn't care what the Raiders and Tom Brady does, and neither does Fox. So the Raiders are just Teflon. They can do whatever they want to. They just get to hand out playbooks early. They can.
Hold on.
No. Fernando Mendoza is not even a Raider yet.
No,
he's not even technically a Raider yet.
Calling malarkey.
Don't call malarkey. It's Mendoza.
No.
His name's Mendoza.
You know that quarterbacks who are going to go number 1 are handed the playbook early. You know that.
I just don't like it.
What do you mean you don't like it? You liked it when your favorite team, the Chicago Bears, had Caleb Williams learning the playbook months before the NFL draft.
Oh, that's different.
How's that different? It's the same exact thing.
The Chicago Bears don't have Tom Brady running the ship. They don't have him as the captain.
The hell are you doing?
They don't have him as the captain. Tom Brady could still go out there and play if they needed him to.
Quarterbacks, if you're going number 1, they give you the information. You start to learn it.
And as far as we're concerned, Fernando Mendoza is not starting week 1. Kirk Cousins is starting week 1.
Oh, so if he was going to start, he could get a head start?
Absolutely. He could get a head start.
Because he's going to ride the bench?
Yeah.
You don't think he deserves to do it?
No iPad for you, sir. That's Kirk Cousins' iPad. If I was Cousins, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, why are you giving it to him? This is my show. He doesn't get this thing early. What are you talking about? This is my gig, Tom.
It's incredible. It really is insane. You're going after the Raiders Yet your favorite team did this, and I'm guessing Tennessee did this last year with Cam Ward.
But they didn't bring in Kirk Cousins to be a prospective
Who cares
starter.
about Kirk?
The Bears didn't bring in Mike Glennon to be the prospective starter ahead of Caleb Williams, did they?
It's Bleck Abdalla, sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting small businesses with affordable coverage options. Quote today at progressivecommercial.com. I mean, the amount of flipping on opinions and the takes from Abdalla.
It's
here.
not flipping. It's one way. You signed a quarterback and you've let everybody know that Cousins is the guy.
Sure.
Yet here comes Mendoza. Hey, gee willikers, everybody. Can I get that iPad?
All right, coming up next. If you've ever wondered why the Chicago Bulls are in the mess that they're in, we will play some audio for you coming up next that will explain why.
Michigan wins its first title since 1989. The Wolverines are on top of the college basketball world. A moment 37 years in the making. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
On Monday afternoon, the Chicago Bulls fired their front office. Arturas Karnisovas and Mark Eversley were both fired. That's the team president and also the GM. The head of basketball operations and the GM both fired from the Chicago Bulls. Yesterday, the CEO and team president, Michael Reinsdorf, son of Jerry Reinsdorf, he's the one that runs the Chicago Bulls. Jerry Reinsdorf owns both the Bulls and the White Sox. Jerry primarily focuses on the White Sox. His son, Michael, is the one that runs the Chicago Bulls. Yesterday, he held a press conference, talked to the media, and this is something that does not happen often. And if your favorite team is owned by an ownership group where you don't really hear from the owners often, I'm sure you're familiar with these situations, is that when you hear that person who doesn't usually speak on the record say something, your ears perk up. You pay attention to it. I know you and I, Abdalla, at the end of the football season, we heard from the Buffalo Bills owner, and that was a total disaster.
Oof.
Trying to explain the Joe Brady hire and Sean McDermott getting fired and that whole situation, right? So when you hear these owners speak, you got to listen to what they're saying. Because when you question how a team like the Chicago Bulls, and I know Abdalla and I are broadcasting live from Chicago. This is a national radio show, and it's a national brand. The Chicago Bulls are known worldwide. They've got fans all over, and it's primarily because of one person, Michael Jordan. That's it. It's Michael Jordan. Because Michael Jordan was the greatest player to ever play the game of basketball, people know the Bulls brand worldwide. And so, as of late, the Bulls have been terrible. They had a front office that wasn't doing anything. They essentially were going nowhere. Multiple seasons, they were about 500, playing in the play-in game each and every year in the Eastern Conference. Can't get past the first round of the playoffs. They haven't won a playoff series since 2015. It's 2026.
Mm-hmm.
They're the Chicago Bulls. They can't even win a playoff series? All right, so let's take a listen. So the setup is also this. Billy Donovan is there as their coach. You and I, on the record on this show, have said, if Billy Donovan wants to take a different role, I'd be interested in that. I'd like to hear what Donovan has to say. I also think I would like Donovan to be the head coach moving forward. It's all stuff that I would like. With that said, if you bring in a new person to run the organization and they don't want Billy Donovan, well, shouldn't you listen to the person that would be brought in to run the organization? Well, unless you're Michael Reinsdorf running the Chicago Bulls, take a listen to what he told reporters yesterday. If a candidate does not want Billy Donovan, then maybe he's not for the Bulls.
Yeah, I think if we're interviewing someone and they want, of course, now I'm giving them the answers, but if I interview someone and they're not sold on Billy, and they're not sold on a Hall of Fame coach, they're not sold on a person who's won championships in college, who's gone deep in the playoffs with Oklahoma City, who I believe with the Chicago Bulls every year, given the team that he was given, I think he achieved really good results. Not the results that we wanted, but that's not because of Billy. So if someone's not interested in Billy as our coach, and if Billy wants to be our coach, and someone's not interested in that, then they're probably not the right candidate for us.
So that was Michael Reinsdorf yesterday speaking to the media here in Chicago. If they don't want Billy Donovan, they may not be the right candidate for us.
It's such an ass-backwards way to run an organization and to do a search, but it's not surprising because this is the way both franchise run by the Reinsdorfs have done things. If you look at the White Sox, the second time they brought Tony La Russa back
to take naps in the dugout, to sit in the dugout and sleep.
They gave Robin Ventura a job when he didn't want the job. He told them no. He had to be convinced.
Former White Sox great third baseman. He didn't want the job, and they had to force him to take the manager job.
And they didn't do a GM search. They gave it to Chris Getz, who is in their minor league department. They were just like, here you go. It's yours now. And now with the Bulls, this is how they've done things before, going back to the Tim Floyd era, when he was head coach after Phil Jackson, because he was friends with the organization. And so now this is all just repeating itself. This organization, and you said it at the beginning here, if this organization didn't luck into Michael Jordan, they're nothing. They're nothing. And because of that, they got millions of fans around the world. They lucked into being one of the most iconic symbols, and that Bull logo is one of the most iconic logos in the world as far as a sports franchise goes. They are top 1, 2, or 3 in attendance every single year because they still are a destination. Just like Wrigley Field is here, it's a destination for out-of-towners. When you come in and you want to go see a Bulls game, you got to go to the Michael Jordan statue.
See the statue.
You got to go to all that stuff. And it's all because of one guy. And now they tried to replicate it again during the Derrick Rose era, but he got injured, and they lived off of the Derrick Rose injury for 10 years. That excuse for a decade after it happened. Well, if Derrick didn't get hurt, we would have gotten this. Yeah, 10 years later, we're still hearing about how if Derrick didn't get hurt. And now you're doing all of this again. This is such a bad way to go because you're right. If Bob Myers wants the job, the former GM and guy who put together the Warriors, the architect of the Warriors, if he wants the job and he comes in and says, I don't want Billy Donovan as my head coach, I have another guy in mind, you're going to tell Bob Myers no? Are you serious? That's insane. So to me, Chris, one of two things is going to happen with the Chicago Bulls. Either they are so set that Billy Donovan has already told them, I am willing to be your head coach, and I've got a few list of candidates that I want to be the GM, and they already have it in their mind who it's going to be. Or they are so naive to the fact that Billy Donovan is going to take another job. They can't be that naive that Billy Donovan is going to walk at the end of the year. Because he is coveted, and there are going to be other jobs. Doc Rivers yesterday is already talking about how he's going to leave.
Well, yeah, and that's not going to work. First of all, Doc Rivers, the Doc Rivers thing, he's not the coach that I think people think he is.
No, but my point is that there's going to be jobs
of course
open.
There's other jobs.
And Billy Donovan is going to be a coveted head coach.
The way Michael Reinsdorf talked about it yesterday will set himself up for a lot of egg on his face if Billy Donovan leaves.
Yes.
Right? Like, he has now set himself up where the Bulls' only option is to make sure Billy Donovan stays. And so if Donovan wants to go pursue a different NBA gig, or, whatever the conversation is with whoever it is that would come in to try and build the franchise. And I think that's where this whole thing, for those who are on the outside, who don't know and they don't understand, like something else he said yesterday was that when he hired AK, he never met the guy. On the record yesterday, Michael Reinsdorf said when he met AK, it was after he already hired him.
Which is crazy to think about. And we all know.
So they never met before he hired the guy. He also straight up trashed AK, saying that in the candidate he's looking for to run the team, they need to be able to communicate in and outside of the building because AK wasn't good at that? Well, sir, you should probably figure this out before you hire somebody.
Maybe meet them first. I don't know.
So here's the thing. A couple inside nuggets to add to the flavor that Abdalla and I can share with you. The Bulls only do things when they're getting trashed in the national media. It's starting to bubble up here in the last couple weeks, and notice they did something. The last time they did something, it was before the 2020 All-Star game. Everyone came to Chicago for a great All-Star weekend, and people kept saying, why are the Bulls so bad? This is a great location for basketball. It's a great arena. The fans really care. Why do the Bulls stink? Oh, and there you go. Then Michael acted. He hears stuff, and he's very bothered when people talk about the team, even though we're just pointing out that they're not good.
Yeah.
He's thin-skinned, I think is the way it would be described. He does not like when people talk poorly about the team, but his team sucks.
Well, then maybe do something. Win. I don't know.
So that's the setup. So if you're on the outside, you're looking in, why are the Bulls never good? Look at the person who's running the team. Listen to what Michael Reinsdorf is saying. He doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, his dad bought a franchise, and they lucked into Michael Jordan, and they're a world brand because of Michael Jordan. That's it. They've never accomplished anything else.
No, if I'm Billy Donovan and I'm watching the press conference yesterday, this is the last organization that I want to work for.
So I was listening to the Zach Lowe podcast on The Ringer yesterday. This is Zach Lowe talking about the Chicago Bulls situation.
This has been nothing short of a disaster. It's more than a disaster. It is, they have become the laughingstock of the NBA, the most depressing franchise outside of Sacramento. More depressing in a lot of ways because they're the Chicago Bulls. They are a worldwide mega brand. They are the Alan Parsons Project blaring the starting introductions. They are legendary and iconic. And they have recently actually had good teams.
So that was Zach Lowe on the Zach Lowe podcast. He broke down more of the Bulls situation as well. But I think it started to make me think, the Chicago Bulls were once a great team, great franchise. Are there other great teams that no longer are great, but absolutely have zero hope? Because when we look around sports, I don't know if there's necessarily a comparison to this situation with the Chicago Bulls because there is no light at the end of the tunnel. They didn't tank enough. They don't really have any really good players who are young, developing. They've got a collection of kind of nonsense on the roster. The first team that I thought of, the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys used to be great. They're not necessarily great right now, but they try, though. The Cowboys are trying to win. That to me is different.
They've won
the
a couple
Bulls
divisions.
Haven't tried to win.
Absolutely. I think the Cowboys absolutely try. In the NFL, I get the Jets. The Jets won a long time ago.
They had won Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the Jets have not been good since. They had a couple of years with Rex Ryan.
But does anybody think the Jets are ever going to figure anything out?
No, and not in their situation right now. Because you and I both think Aaron Glenn will get fired at the end of this upcoming season.
Absolutely.
So, maybe the Jets, the Miami Dolphins are a team that come to mind.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Bad ownership, no direction. They don't know what they're doing whatsoever. So, when you say the most disappointing team in sports, what team pops up into your mind? And it has to be a team that used to be great because that's the key here. It's not just, like Zach Lowe said, the Kings. They've always been bad. You can text the show at 310-840-4910. What's the most disappointing team in all of sports? It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. We'll be right back.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
That's right, Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM, Channel 375, and all of our great radio affiliates around the country. I'm Chris Bleck, along with Adam Abdalla, broadcasting live from downtown Chicago, on the air until 3 Eastern. You can call or text the show at 310-840-4910. The text question today, Abdalla, who's the most depressing team in all of sports? So, the one thing I would add to that conversation is, you can't just give me a team that's never won, right? Like in the part of this conversation is we were talking about the Chicago Bulls, their owner, Michael Reinsdorf, speaking to the media yesterday and laying out how they're going to go about their search for someone to run the organization, the basketball side of things, which is totally ass backwards because he's telling people that they have to keep or he wants to keep Billy Donovan. Well, if you hire someone to run the basketball operation, they don't want to keep Billy Donovan. What are you doing? So we're talking about maybe a team that has won in the past, who has no hope for the future, and just absolutely disappointing. And we're looking around sports. So if you want to text the show, you can text us at 310-840-4910. My example, the Dallas Cowboys, although the Cowboys, as of late, they're trying. They haven't been good, but they're trying to win. Another team that came to mind in the NFL, the Miami Dolphins. Miami Dolphins seem to be a team that has no hope.
Yeah.
Bad ownership, new head coach that you and I don't like, Jeff Hafley, quarterback situation. They don't know what they're doing, giving a boatload of money to Malik Willis. So the Miami Dolphins used to be great. Greatest team ever existed in the NFL. They're all smoking cigars. They're popping champagne every year when the final undefeated team goes down.
Mm-hmm.
They're hanging out. South Beach.
Yeah.
The Dolphins used to be a great franchise. They are no longer that.
Yeah, I mean, there's two teams in New York I can think of. There's the Jets. They won a championship in the 70s. They haven't done it. Everybody thinks they're a joke now. Nobody thinks they're going to get it right. And listen, they have some playoff success, but for all the allure that is Madison Square Garden, the Knicks haven't done anything in a long time.
That's true. At least they're good now.
Okay.
They're trying. They haven't won a championship.
Yeah, but that's the same category as the Cowboys.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the
Cowboys have had more recent success, like recent-ish success.
I guess in my mind, the way I view it is that at least they have a chance.
Yeah.
The Bulls are so woefully far away from even competing.
Mm-hmm.
That, to me, is what makes it stand out as like such a depressing situation. You can text the show at 310-840-4910. Mike from Detroit writes, the most disappointing team would have to be the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I thought about that.
What's going on there?
I thought about the Steelers because...
All right, Mike, that's a good text.
Well, listen, they haven't done anything since Roethlisberger. They haven't tried to do any they haven't had a real quarterback solution since Roethlisberger. Old man Rodgers doesn't count. Because no one thinks they're a legitimate threat.
Could you imagine if McCarthy and Rodgers burn out and it doesn't work? And I get it. Here on this show, this is the number one show in America to support Mike McCarthy, and it's all from that side of the room.
I don't know if it's number one.
And I'm pointing directly at you.
I don't know if it's number one.
Directly at you.
It might be number two, but it's definitely top two.
Is there another show that features Mike McCarthy on a weekly basis for a paid gig?
There is.
Is that what you're saying?
There is actually.
And
yes.
That show probably also, well, not probably. We know pays a boatload of money to get the guy to come out of his little hiding hole.
They
to
do.
Talk.
Yeah, they do.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they do.
Is that
they
the show you're talking about?
Yeah, that's
Off
the show.
The top
I am.
rope?
I am. Yes.
Is that what you're saying? I'm pointing to you, sir. For some reason, you have become the number one Mike McCarthy cheerleader in the country.
All I've said is that I don't understand the slander for Mike McCarthy.
There is no slander.
When he has the same record as John Harbaugh. That's all I'm saying.
Just been out of the game a minute.
1 year.
Yeah.
1 year. That's it.
You lose your fastball.
Mike Malone just got the gig at North Carolina of lose your fastball. What are you talking about? Sean Payton was out for 6 months and he gets a job and he's back in the AFC Championship game. What are we talking about? Lose your fastball.
That's what I'm saying.
Lose your fastball.
So that's the conversation we're having here on Bleck Abdalla today. If you want to call or text, you can do that at 310-840-4910. Number one cheerleader in America, Adam Abdalla for Mike McCarthy.
I just think he's proven it.
Did you see this story about A.J. Brown? Possible landing spots for the from NFL.com.
Mm-hmm.
Where will A.J. Brown get traded? If he gets traded, here are 6 possible trade destinations for A.J. Brown. So the latest here is, I think he will still get traded. I know it was reported that it may not happen until after the draft, possibly June 1. With that said, and all of the crap that's been put out there by the Eagles to trash their quarterback, it does feel like that conversation aside, A.J. Brown won't be with Philly next season. That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah, and if I'm the Eagles, or if I'm a team that wants to acquire A.J. Brown, but especially if I'm the Eagles, I want this done now because the draft is in just over 2 weeks. We're 2 weeks away from the NFL draft, and I want to get these picks so I can use them in this draft. If I'm getting a first-round pick and other things along with that, whether it's a fourth, a third, second, whatever it is, I want to be able to use that first-round pick this year. Because odds are, if I trade you A.J. Brown, that first-round pick is not going to be as good in 2027 as it is in 2026. So I want to use, whether it's any of these teams that we're about to go through, I want to make sure I get that pick now. So clock's ticking. You got 2 weeks to get this deal done if you're the Eagles and whatever these teams are. And right now, if I'm looking at it, the one that has the most smoke around them are the New England Patriots. That's the one that we've been talking about the most. That's the one that if they need a distraction right now because of their head coach, I would say make a deal for A.J. Brown today. Maybe take some of the heat off of what's going on with Mike Vrabel. It would, it would.
Are you suggesting something's going on with Mike Vrabel?
No, I'm just on the internet.
Perhaps at a luxury hotel?
I'm just on the internet, and I
do you have an idea of a reporter who could possibly break this story?
If I were the Patriots and the Eagles, I'd probably give it to I'd probably let Schefter take this one.
Oh, really?
I'd probably let someone else.
Not Rappaport?
Have Rappaport.
Not Garofalo?
Or Breer.
Or Breer?
Any of them.
What about a local reporter? No?
Sure.
Anyone?
Sure. What
about The Athletic? Got anyone from The Athletic?
Someone close to Mike Vrabel might be able to break this story if they wanted to.
How close is the question?
Depends on what you believe.
Well, I know what I saw. I saw photos. I know what I saw there. The interlocking of the hands. That's a new one for me.
I mean,
I haven't seen that in the reporting.
All I know is that we were like one photograph away from the Dirty Dancing montage, and
could you imagine?
Listen, we're all consenting adults here.
Don't
do whatever you want.
Don't put baby in the corner.
Do whatever you want to. All right.
Don't do that.
Don't put A.J. Brown in the corner. I'm just saying, if you wanted
a distraction
if you
today,
wanted a distraction,
make the move for A.J. Brown.
Make it in New England. Today would be the day to trade for A.J. Brown.
The song that they use in the scene,
I had the time of my life.
And she goes running up to him, and he holds her up, right? They use that song for like a beach resort thing, don't they? Sandals, don't they use that song too?
I don't think that's where they were staying.
No, that's not.
Oh, okay. I thought that's okay.
I'm not saying where they're staying.
I think they got better money than that. I think the Athletic pays better than that.
I would hope.
You never know.
I mean, that would be the ultimate come over the top move if later today from the Athletic, the report, A.J. Brown traded to the Patriots.
I'm just saying.
So what?
Sometimes Sometimes you need a distraction. And what better way than to acquire a number one receiver in A.J. Brown and trade your first round pick? Number one, they're 31 overall. Yeah. And according to NFL.com, you would also get a fourth round pick and Kayshon Boutte. Why not?
So that's the proposed trade on NFL.com.
Get a Boutte.
Patriot, what?
Nothing.
The wide receiver.
Yeah, Kayshon Boutte.
Yes, I've seen him play. Never seen him interlock fingers, though.
It's hard to catch the football.
That's aggressive. I don't think I've ever done that with my wife. Have you ever interlocked your fingers like that? Straight on?
It doesn't lead to, you can't really do a lot when you're doing that. Like,
no.
You got to keep your hands, you got to be able to do things with your hands.
Well, especially like if you're an offensive lineman, you don't want to grab, right?
No.
You want the hands ready to go. Well, if you do, you got to get it within the chest plates there on the
right.
On the jersey with the shoulder pads. Isn't that what offensive linemen talk about?
Yep.
You kind of wedge your finger and you hold the jersey a little, even though you're not trying to hold.
You're not trying to hold, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But come on, they all have little tricks.
Yes.
How they do that. There's holding on every play in the NFL. Come on.
Every play. That's what the eye in the sky is for now.
Haven't you watched football before?
I have.
All right. So NFL.com. That's the first trade suggested. Patriots trade for A.J. Brown. They offer the first rounder, a fourth, and Kayshon Boutte. The Chargers are listed here. They should make the move for A.J. Brown. They could give up their first-round pick, number 22 overall, and Quentin Johnson. They could trade the wide receiver for wide receiver. That would be a huge upgrade for the Chargers. I actually think that would be a hell of a move. If the Los Angeles Chargers could pull that off, that would be a great move.
Yeah, both these moves, I think, are upgrades for either team. I think that, when you're the Chargers, you want as many weapons as possible for Justin Herbert. So why not? And then I think also, too, if you're the Patriots, like you did just trade for Dobbs, or you signed Dobbs. So I think that you have an option. It's not a true number one option. We've talked about the numbers for A.J. Brown last year. It's not true number one numbers, but I think that but again, this goes back to the whole report on Jalen Hurts and like the hit piece that ESPN kind of put out on Jalen Hurts. And are they on the same page? And is Jalen Hurts on the same page as the coaches in the offense? And if you have a young quarterback in Drake May who is learning a new offense still with Josh McDaniels, I can imagine that, or even with Herbert, with the Chargers, I think that this would be a spot where A.J. Brown could land and thrive in either of these locations, for sure.
Yeah, as we continue on this list on NFL.com, the next one up, the Buffalo Bills. The Bills would receive A.J. Brown. They would give up their first rounder, number 26 overall, and a 2027 second-round pick. Here's what I think. Would the Bills need A.J. Brown to be a better offensive football team? Yes. I don't know. Like, are you just going to keep giving up draft picks for wide receivers? Disgruntled wide receivers in places? You just traded for DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to trade for A.J. Brown too? I don't see that being likely whatsoever.
If you really want to go for it this year, why not? Send another first-round pick out. It's 26 overall. I mean, I think that's better than trying to draft a wide receiver 26 overall and send a 2027 second-round pick, which if you win the Super Bowl is going to be really high anyway. So why not? Why not? Get Josh Allen as many weapons as possible. I don't see the reason why you couldn't do that.
Okay.
I would.
3 more teams on the list. What if you traded A.J. Brown back to where he came from? Tennessee. You traded A.J. Brown to Tennessee for a second-round pick, number 35 overall, and a first-round pick next year. That would be a lot. And the Titans need a number one wide receiver. We both think the Titans at 4 should take a wide receiver in the draft and not running back.
Yeah, I do. I think that's a lot to give up. And Howie Roseman for the Eagles does like to get a lot in return. I mean, it's almost like you're getting a very high second-round pick this year at 35 overall. So that would be something you could definitely draft a day one, or obviously day 2, but day 1 starter for you if you're the Eagles. And then obviously in 2027, the Titans are one of my candidates that could go worst to first. I don't know if they're going to actually do that, but I think they're going to be competitive in that division. A.J. Brown would make that even more so. But I think that first-round pick would still be a decent first-round pick for the Eagles if you got that back, for sure.
The other teams are listed, the Raiders and the Ravens, in the article from NFL.com. Possible trade locations for A.J. Brown. I get it for the Raiders. I would not trade. The suggestion is trading Max Crosby. I would not trade Max Crosby for A.J. Brown. That is not a fair deal.
Can the
not
rest
at all?
Can the rest of the NFL step in
not
and just be like, guys?
Now the deal does
No.
say that the Raiders would get a first round pick from the Eagles. So this is more of the Eagles getting Max Crosby. The Raiders receive Brown and the first round pick, number 23 overall.
Okay, but still, Max Crosby with that Eagles defense, that's not fair. That's just not, that's just lethal. That's lethal.
And the last one, the Ravens. The deal would be A.J. Brown to the Ravens, and the Eagles would get back first round pick number 14 overall and a third rounder this year, number 80 overall.
And we know the Ravens were willing to deal first round picks because they were willing to give up first round picks for Max Crosby and then went back on the deal. So I could see that. That would be a great addition for Lamar Jackson, for sure.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, sponsored by Robinhood. You can expect more from yourself, expect more from your money Learn more and get started today with Robinhood at Robinhood.com/yourmoney. So there you go. A.J. Brown, will he get traded? Abdalla is suggesting that the Patriots pull off a trade today to distract the football world away from a possible situation with their head coach on a roof.
Look, I'm just saying,
roof,
sometimes you create a diversion. And that diversion can benefit your team.
It did look like they were dancing or doing something. Were they doing the tango? Is that what they were doing up there?
Definitely the Dirty Dancing song was playing in the background. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that that's what the song that was playing.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our eyes on that situation. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app.
North Carolina has hired former Nuggets coach Michael Malone. For the first time in 70 years, the Tar Heels go outside the Carolina family to reset one of college basketball's most powerful brands. Will it prove to be the right move? Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Bleck and Abdalla each and every day broadcasting live from downtown Chicago, hanging out with you until 3 Eastern. We'll keep reading your texts on the most disappointing team in pro sports. You can text us at 310-840-4910. We'll continue reading those off of the conversation around the Chicago Bulls. There's no hope. They once were great, and there's no hope. So we will keep reading those. I see someone from the 614 suggest the Cleveland Browns. The Browns were great at one point. They were a really good team in the 80s. Long time ago. Long time ago. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports, live from Chicago. Now we go to Colorado, parts unknown in Colorado, for Raj Sharon to join us for Stock Watch. Hello, Raj.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Adam. How you guys doing today? Ready to play a little Stock Watch?
Yeah, we're good, Raj. You know, during the commercial break, Abdalla tried to catch me like the Dirty Dancing move from the movie. We tried to do that here in the studio.
How well did that one go off?
He's got a strong base.
He's
got a good base.
All right.
good base.
No injuries, no workman's comp.
No, we're good.
No.
We're good. We're good.
Okay. All right. Good to know. All right. Time to bust out those portfolios. We buy stock. We sell stock. Bleck and Abdalla are asked to make wise fiscal financial decisions with their portfolios. We'll see if they can achieve it today. They rarely do. We're going to start off with the new head coach in Chapel Hill of North Carolina. Abdalla, are you buying or selling Michael? Don't call me Mike Malone.
Sell. I don't want any part of this. First of all, he said he had to be convinced of taking the job now. Like he didn't want it at first. And then there was like an Easter brunch conversation or something like that.
Well, you know, Easter brunches can be very, very impactful on the decision-making process.
He found the contract during an Easter egg hunt or something. No, I don't think that. I don't like this. I think this is this reeks of desperation from North Carolina. I don't think this is gonna work. He hasn't coached in college in decades, and he's never been a head coach in college, let alone knows how to recruit, do the NIL, all of that stuff. I don't think this is going to work.
But Adam, they're professionals now.
Okay.
Because of NIL.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to sell this stock too, Raj. I am not buying Michael Malone as your head coach for North Carolina. Congratulations to all you Tar Heels. But I don't see this really working out well for the long term. Yeah, they might get an easy bump early, but Duke's still going to control this rivalry. So I'm gonna sell this stock.
All right, guys, the next stock is a guy that's kind of quietly a no-show, not showing up for his team in Miami. They say they want to keep Devon A-Chain despite all the other trades they've made. Are you buying or selling the running back in Miami, Bleck?
I'm going to sell. You're a running back. Best of luck. Right? Like, wait, A-Chan, you're not, wait, this isn't like a top 5 guy in the league. What are we doing here?
Okay, can we also,
Sell.
I'm reading the headline here, too. I'm with you, sell. I'm with you, too.
Who do you think you are, sir?
Okay, who do you think you are? But also, guys, running back, a no-show for voluntary workouts.
Yeah.
He's not missing the mandatory stuff. This is voluntary. That's why it's called voluntary. If you want to make it mandatory, make it mandatory. It's a headline when he misses the mandatory stuff.
Quarterbacks who are not participating in this stuff, that I have a problem with that. If you're a running back, all right, whatever.
Yeah, whatever, man. It's fine. I don't care. Like we just talked about the Raiders and Kirk Cousins, and he's there, and other quarterbacks are showing up, and I know we're going to talk about one here in a little bit. But when a running back doesn't show up for voluntary stuff, okay, they're going to be bad anyway. Whatever. I'm not buying any of it. I'll sell it, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter to me. He's a running back, and it's voluntary stuff. Talk to me when it's the involuntary, when it's the mandatory mini camp stuff, and where you get to training camp and that. If he's holding out,
talk to me in August.
Yes,
in September.
Exactly. Raj.
I am proud of you guys. You guys are usually buying up stocks like you can't wait to spend the money. You're sold so far in your first two.
Have you seen the market
Have you seen
recently?
what's going on?
Actually, we
Good
should be buying
point.
then.
All right, well, let's see what happens on this third stock.
Market
Speaking
today's
of
up.
quarterbacks, speaking of guys showing up for OTAs, how about the guy who's not in Florida? He's in Baltimore, Maryland right now for OTAs. Are we buying or selling Lamar Jackson, Abdalla?
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. I'll buy this. I will buy Lamar Jackson showing up, and at least for right now, playing nice and putting on the team face of being there for the first round of voluntary workouts. How long he's going to be there, or how many of these he's actually going to show up for. He gets like $750,000 if he shows up for 80% of these or something like that. But it hasn't stopped him in the past. He doesn't care. That's nothing to him.
I would care.
That is not. I would
that
care
would be
too.
a lot of
I would love
to
him.
me.
I would love. Can I show up for him and get like some of that?
Could you
Can
imagine,
I go there for him?
Could you imagine if you just had to show up somewhere and got handed a chunk of change like that?
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Just be there.
Just to be there.
Just be there and be alive.
And just pretend. Yeah, it was called high school. I just showed up and I pretended to be there for a little bit, and I got through. I got by.
You got paid in high school?
No, I didn't get paid, but I just had to show up and get by. And so I'm buying this because I'm buying this in hopes that he's turning over a new leaf with a new coaching staff and a new offensive coordinator, and he sees the opportunity that despite having 2 MVPs, he does not have the coveted Super Bowl trophy yet. And this is going to be his best chance, as they are one of the top 2 favorites to win the AFC and go to a Super Bowl, that this is his best chance, especially with the addition that they made on defense with Trey Hendrickson. This is his best chance. So get out there and get as much practice and as many reps as you can. And I'm hoping that takes place. And so I'm going to buy this.
Absolute buy from me, Raj. I like that we were led to believe that there were concerns in Baltimore around the Super Bowl. We're talking to people out in San Francisco about Lamar Jackson. People were worried that he wasn't necessarily going to take to the way that Jesse Minter has been kind of talking publicly about the culture he wants to set. He expected players to be there, to be a part of it. I like that Lamar Jackson clearly got the message, and he's there. This is great. This is a good step forward for the Baltimore Ravens. I like this. I am buying this for Lamar Jackson.
All right, guys. Atlanta Falcons tight end Kyle Pitts signed his franchise tag, still hoping to work out a long-term deal. So he is there with new coach Kevin Stefanski, potentially new quarterback Tua Tagovailoa. Are you buying or selling the stock on Kyle Pitts, Bleck?
I'm going to buy. I think Kyle Pitts has untapped potential. And so what we've seen to this point in his career is not what we will see at the end of the day from Kyle Pitts. So I think he will be better. I think Stefanski has been known to get the most out of tight ends as well. So I think this is a stock. If you don't already own some Kyle Pitts stock, I would imagine in the next year or so, he's going to be in the conversation as the best tight end in football. So I'm gonna put that in there, and I'm gonna buy Pitts.
I agree with you. They also have until July 15th to negotiate a new deal. So this is, I believe that's why the franchise tag was placed. So it's more of a negotiating tactic to extend the negotiating period. So I agree with you. I think that Stefanski is going to get a lot out of these guys. I think that Stefanski is going to be a better head coach than what they've had previously. I think that Tua can win this job. I think Tua can be the day one starter if just health-wise, just based on health of Michael Penix. So I'm gonna buy some Kyle Pitts stock because I agree with everything that Chris said.
All right, guys,
Raj.
another player in the
Raj.
news this week has been Giants defensive lineman Dexter Lawrence, who has requested a trade. Abdalla, are you buying or selling Dexter Lawrence?
I am going to buy Dexter Lawrence stock. I saw, what is he? He had like an insane, he's led the league in pressures or something. He had like 100 some odd quarterback pressures.
Dude's a beast,
He's
man.
a monster. Now, he is going to be 29 years old, so I don't know how that affects his trade value, okay? But regardless of that, just in a vacuum, I think Dexter Lawrence is a great player. I would love him on my team if I were any team in the NFL. I think teams should be picking up the phone and blowing up the Giants' phone all day trying to get him there. But that being said, the Giants haven't won anything with him, so trade him. Why? Get the most you can for him. Why not, right? Trade him. I would. Wouldn't you? Trade him.
Yes, I'm buying the Dexter Lawrence stock as well. I think if that's the case, if you can get a lot back for him, you trade him. The Giants, I think they're going to be much better this upcoming season, but you could also still argue that this is because it's a new regime, they can kind of build the team in the mold that they want. So I'm going to buy the Dexter Lawrence stock. I think he's a really good player. Raj?
All right, guys. Fernando Mendoza expected to be the number 1 pick, perhaps already learning Clint Kubiak's playbook, but he's not going to be at the NFL draft. He's going to be with his family. Are we buying or selling Mendoza here? What are we going to do here, Bleck?
Is there any truth to the rumor that he heard that he would have to talk to Bleck Abdalla after being selected number 1 overall? So that's why he's not going to the...
I don't know if it's confirmed, but he may have been intimidated that Abdalla was going to confront him on how messed up it was that he got early access to the playbook, even though it was fine for Caleb Williams.
Exactly. I'm going to buy.
Sorry, Adam.
I think
Mendoza.
Mendoza's going to be a good quarterback. I just don't think he's going to be a top-level star quarterback in the NFL. I think there's a difference. So I'm going to buy. He's going to be a good quarterback. I just don't think he has that high-level talent that we've seen from some of the other quarterbacks selected number 1 overall the last few seasons.
You know what? Okay, so I agree with you, Chris. I will go with you on that.
Thank you.
But I think there is some truth to what Raj is saying, though. I think that he didn't want to talk to Chris, and I think that
What did I do?
No, not just you, not just you. But I do think that the addition of Kirk Cousins affected him going to the draft, because now the conversations are not just about congratulations, you're the face of the franchise now. It's you and Max Crosby. You guys are the face you are the face of the Raiders. You're the future of the Raiders. Now the questions are about Kirk Cousins.
I don't think. No one seriously thinks that Kirk Cousins is like a real deal.
You gave him $20 million.
1 season.
Okay, that's his.
It's not money that's not going to Mendoza.
Until a week ago, everyone thought Fernando Mendoza was coming in and starting week 1. And then a week ago, they signed Kirk Cousins, and all of that's out the window. So what are you going to ask Mendoza about? A quarterback competition, as opposed to saying, what's it going to be like taking over the reins as the Raiders quarterback? What's it going to be like starting week 1? Well, all this stuff about being the day 1 starter is now out the window, because now he's got to talk about a quarterback competition and competing for a job.
No,
dude,
I don't
I'm
think
telling
so.
you.
I don't think
okay.
that's soft.
It might be.
It's pretty soft
It might
that's
be
the case.
It might be. But Conspiracy Abdalla has his tinfoil hat on when it comes to this.
You never take that hat off.
It's always on.
Raj.
I had a space joke lined up, but I don't want to derail us too badly. All right. And finally, in Stockwatch, he's got a new number. He's wearing number 2. But if you were to look at the Cleveland Browns social accounts, he looks like QB number 1 as they are promoting the heck out of Shedeur Sanders. So are you buying or selling the former Colorado quarterback? Abdalla?
I think that everything the Browns do is number 2. So,
all right.
What?
Goodbye. You're done.
It was right there.
You're done for the rest. Take a break.
All right.
Take a break.
And back to you, Chris.
That's it. Take a break. Take a lap. Go take a lap.
Come
Are
on,
you
that
serious?
Was good.
No, I don't think that was good.
Raj,
I'm selling that.
Raj, what do you think?
It initially wasn't good, but the reaction to it has made it like Bleck has elevated it. Like Bleck is elevating
Raj, what do you think?
it
That was good,
to
right?
so
You
bad it's
set
good
it up.
status.
Set it up. You set it up.
I'm selling your bad joke. I'm selling Shedeur Sanders. They can prop him up and they can act like he's the number one guy. Cool. They know it's going to get clicks. They know putting that out there, people are going to respond. So I'm selling. Come on. That was a terrible joke, by the way.
Should Deshaun Watson's feelings be hurt? Should Dylan Gabriel's feelings be hurt?
Deshaun Watson, I don't know if Deshaun Watson's allowed to have feelings.
Mystery fourth quarterback that Andrew Berry was talking about that they might draft.
Who are they drafting?
I don't know, but their GM said that they are considering bringing in another quarterback.
No.
Thank you, Raj.
Shout out to our YouTube chat, youtube.com/@Bleck and Abdalla show. That number 2 joke was perfectly executed. Thank you for true ball knowers in the YouTube chat.
Okay, all right. Raj loved that.
Yeah, he did.
I did love that one.
Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One
True
Sports,
ball
sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Save on commercial auto insurance from Progressive. Get a fast quote at progressivecommercial.com. You're amazing. You really are. It's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. I'm selling your joke. That's
He
it.
really cracked
And
himself
Shedeur.
up on that one, didn't he?
Sell it to the highest bidder, man.
I know. He is.
That's a great
Raj,
joke.
he is so proud in here right now.
That's a great joke.
He is. He
That's
is
a great joke, man.
floating. He's
Yeah.
on a high.
Yeah.
All right. The NFL draft, just a couple weeks away. Not only is Fernando Mendoza one of the most talked about players in this year's draft, the other one would be Ty Simpson. Where will he land? We have a new mock draft suggesting that a team that has a quarterback, a good quarterback, could possibly take Ty Simpson. We'll tell you who that team is next.
Michigan wins its first title since 1989. The Wolverines are on top of the college basketball world. A moment 37 years in the making. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Saw this yesterday on NFL.com. Rhett Lewis has a mock draft. First round mock draft, big splash in the first round as the second quarterback that goes off the board. Obviously, in all of the mock drafts that we've seen, Fernando Mendoza goes number 1 overall to the Raiders. As Rhett Lewis goes through his mock draft, we get past the Jets at 16, no quarterback. We get past a couple other teams that may take a quarterback, like the Pittsburgh Steelers at number 21. And we continue on to number 23. And that's where he has the Philadelphia Eagles selecting Ty Simpson in the first round. Now, that's out there. With that said, his idea behind this pick is more about leverage than it is necessarily selecting a quarterback to replace Jalen Hurts. His point is that if the Eagles were to take the quarterback there, they could hold that quarterback as a piece and gain leverage to get more back from other teams. I would suggest if that's the idea that Philly's going to go with heading into the draft, you trade the pick before you make it, right? So you get the picks before and you don't actually take the quarterback. Because what if perhaps teams have done their due diligence and they see Ty Simpson as not a first round or second round quarterback, and they've led you to believe there's a lot of intrigue, and so they get you to draft the player, and then the phones go silent.
Yep.
And then you're stuck with Ty Simpson. So the logic here is not necessarily to replace Jalen Hurts, even though he points out that the Eagles in the past have been known to stockpile quarterbacks. His more point is he's suggesting that this could be leverage for Howie Roseman to select a player that is in high demand.
Okay, I would say that I don't think Howie Roseman's going to do this because I think Howie Roseman knows how to build his football team, and doing this only wasting a first-round pick just because, what is a team going to offer you to trade you for Ty Simpson? You're going to stash Ty Simpson for a year, and if you can't get anything done, or if Jalen Hurts starts to flame out, you're going to play Ty Simpson? No. I'll go back to the year 2020 and I understand he is now their franchise quarterback, and I understand that it worked out. But in the year 2020, with the 26th overall pick, the Green Bay Packers selected Jordan Love. What did Jordan Love do to help the Green Bay Packers in 2020? Nothing. What did he do to help them in 2021? Nothing. Now, they could have drafted T. Higgins. They could have drafted Michael Pittman. They could have drafted, DeAndre Swift would have been a decent pick too. Any of those players to help out Aaron Rodgers and, I don't know, maybe win another Super Bowl while he was with the Green Bay Packers? I don't know.
Well, but they have their quarterback now, though.
I understand that. I get it.
Do you?
And you could do that. But don't you think Packers fans would rather have had another championship with Aaron Rodgers and figured out quarterback somewhere down the line than stashing Jordan Love for as long as they did? Because Jordan Love, he's fine. He's not great by any means. He's not Patrick Mahomes. He's not Josh Allen. No one thinks he's a top 5 quarterback. So saying that you could have had him over these other players, like T. Higgins is a great wide receiver. If you would have had T. Higgins with Aaron Rodgers, you might have another weapon for him, which is something he complained about time in and time again, that not having another weapon while he was there.
Right.
Why don't you, especially if you're going to trade A.J. Brown? If you trade A.J. Brown, you got to draft a replacement. You have to.
Yeah.
You got it. You
Yes.
can't draft Ty. And then, obviously, you would have 2 first-round picks. So maybe you do draft Ty Simpson then if you have 2 first-round picks. But if you only have 1, you can't do that. And I don't think Howie Roseman is the type of GM where he is just drafting players to stash them for later or to use them as leverage.
Okay, so the way I'm leaning right now, I know we're, 3 Thursdays away from the NFL draft. The way I'm leaning right now, if we had to predict on the record what we think will happen with Ty Simpson, my guess would be Ty Simpson will not get selected in the first round, but he will be one of the first 2 players selected in the second round.
Okay.
If I had to guess right now, I don't think he's a good enough quarterback that is going to necessitate teams jumping up into the first round for it. And I understand the 5th-year option you get as a first-round quarterback, but then you also have to give stuff up to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to give anything up to just sit where you're at, Jets or Cardinals, and to select the player 33 or 34 overall in the second round. The way I feel right now is that that's what we will see when we're in Pittsburgh, is that he will be the storyline and that the first team will go off the board, second team, he'll get past the Jets at 16, at 21 with the Steelers, he'll slide past that, and then that will be a story for that Friday when we're there in Pittsburgh. Where will he land? And then Friday night, when the second round begins, he'll be like the first name off the board or the second name off the board. I think that's the way this plays out.
Yeah, I still think that a team is going to jump back into the first round and draft him. If I had to bet, if there was like a over under 1.5 quarterbacks taken in the first round, I would probably go over 1.5 taken in the first round, because I sincerely believe he's going to be taken late because someone wants that 5th-year option. It's so important. Look at it with C.J. Stroud. Look at how important the evaluation process is going to be with C.J. Stroud.
It's true.
And look at the quarterback I just mentioned with
but
Jordan
both
Love.
of those teams need a lot of help.
I understand.
To burn first-round quarterbacks on a quarterback who's not a first-round quarterback,
I know.
That is a big miss if that's the case.
That's why I think you're looking at a team would be it's more beneficial for a team that doesn't need one now to move back into the first round, like a Pittsburgh, like an LA Rams, to move back into the first round and do what the Packers did with Jordan Love and have him sit for a year, not for many years, just for 1 year until you figure out what Matthew Stafford is doing or Aaron Rodgers is doing, and do that, and then you're not wasting that 5th-year option can be used as part of the process of the evaluation process.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So it was interesting. You got someone saying the Eagles taking Ty Simpson. That's out there. I don't think it's going to happen, but it's on NFL.com.
Okay.
It's a big week, Abdalla. We're a few weeks away from the NFL draft, but it is Masters Week. Augusta National, The golfers are out there. They're in full swing. No, it's not the Olympics. This isn't the Olympics.
It's not the Olympics.
It's not the Olympic music.
It's the Olympics of golf.
Yes.
If you will.
I guess.
It is, kind of.
There you go. There's the Masters music.
I've seen 3 holes in one. That's kind of an Olympic event. Can you hit a hole in one?
Well, it's the par 3 contest today.
Can you hit a hole in one?
I've never had a hole in one.
Well, then it's an Olympic event, if you ask me.
I think the closest I've gotten is a couple of inches.
Hey, yo.
Just need a few more.
Hey, yo.
To get it done.
There's a pill for that, I think.
You know, we love the Masters here on Bleck Abdalla.
Masters.
As it's Jim Nance welcoming everyone into the cabin.
Come into the cabin.
Hello,
Enjoy
friends.
pimento cheese.
Would you like a cheese sandwich?
We have a candy bar now. Have an ice cream sandwich.
A pimento cheese sandwich. Can you put on a jacket and sit next to me in my cabin?
An egg sandwich.
Live from the Masters.
A chicken biscuit.
You ever notice Jim Nance when he's talking to the camera? He's like on the verge of crying every single time he opens his mouth.
Have you ever been to Augusta? It's emotional.
I have not.
It's emotional.
I would love to go.
Okay.
Love
Just
to
throw
go.
it out there. Bleck Abdalla from the Masters.
It
would
just
be
seems like a very emotional moment for Jim
live
Nance.
from the cabin. I think would
In
be
the cabin.
something.
Dude, first of all, there is no way they're letting us into the butler's
We would
cabin.
do the entire show. It's
Jim
Bleck
Nance
Abdalla live
sitting-
from the Masters.
He'll be in a chair. We'll be on the ground
Where
with
will
our
A-
legs crossed, eating cheese sandwiches,
Where will
looking up
A.J.
at
Brown be drafted?
Jim
That's
Nance.
coming up next.
Live from the
On
Masters.
Bleck Abdalla.
Could you imagine? They would
Where
never
will-
let us
no, God,
do that.
No, God, no, God, no. Where will he be treated? No, it'd be awful.
When we look at the Masters from DraftKings,
Yep.
the favorite to win the tournament, Scotty Scheffler.
Mm-hmm.
John Rahm is second best odds. Bryson DeChambeau is third.
Okay.
Rory McIlroy is fourth. And Ludwig Oberg is number 5
Okay.
on the odds on DraftKings. Oberg has been fantastic so far early in the golf season.
He's been playing
He
really
has
well.
He has been like in the final pairing in almost every PGA Tour event so far.
Yeah.
Here in the early season.
Yeah, I like his top 5 at plus 315. I think that's a decent value play. I think I like the Bison. I like Bryson at plus 1050.
And he is so much fun.
Yeah.
He used to be someone that really irritated me, but I've really embraced him over the last couple of years. Bryson DeChambeau is a likable character.
I think I like the Bryson this weekend.
I also saw this note. If you're going to Augusta National or you've been, apparently since the debut in 2016, the Masters Gnome has become the most sought-after sports collectible item. The original 2016 edition of the Gnome is selling for $10,000 online.
What?
The listing of the 2026 version is going on eBay for $1,500. 30% markup for a gnome, a garden gnome wearing a little Masters outfit.
I gotta get one of those. Let's flip it.
Do you have gnomes?
No, I don't have any gnomes.
So here you go. As we get set Thursday and Friday, the Masters, we'll keep you updated here on Bleck Abdalla as we go along. Bleck Abdalla Show, we'll be back here on Westwood One Sports.
This is Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Welcome in to Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, Sirius XM channel 375. Abdalla, and we are on all of our radio affiliates around the country, hanging out with you on a great Wednesday, talking football and other things as Fernando Mendoza showed up to the facility yesterday, and he was there with the Raiders.
Was he invited?
Well, yeah. I mean,
okay, cool.
I think so.
As long as it was a
meeting.
Okay, as long as it was an official meeting, it wasn't just like, hey, tell me what's going on with this Kirk Cousins thing. What happened here? Why'd you sign him? I thought we had a deal. I thought I was going to be QB1.
Well, I think, and that's why we were talking about this earlier, and the fact that with Mendoza being the projected number one pick, and the fact that when we get there to Pittsburgh, he is not going to be there. Yeah. He is choosing not to participate and going there for the NFL draft. And when we see this, and I don't know if that's a good thing for the NFL. I think having your best player selected number 1 overall, has to be there to be on the stage to celebrate that so everyone can see it. It's a TV event. I get it. So they can Zoom, they can do that. But having them there be in person to give the dap up, because like think about the Mendoza dap up to Goodell.
Oh, that's not a dap. That's a firm, hearty handshake, my friend. That's one of the handshakes too. Like here, like I'll give you a handshake here. It's like with the arm grab.
You grab the arm
like
and
the
you
grab
hold
the
them.
forearm. Yeah,
you hold them in there.
Yeah.
Don't let them escape.
Yeah, exactly. That's a forearm grab handshake too.
So I think when you look at overall for the NFL, Mendoza, the announcement yesterday, he will not be at the NFL draft. He was there with the Raiders yesterday. He's getting the playbook. He will be the number 1 pick. There is no intrigue as far as who the number 1 pick will be. With that said, it is a big deal that he will be selected. I guess you can do it on Zoom. But, it's not the same. It's not the same for the broadcast to not have the player there. And I think that's where all of this kind of comes together yesterday, because players for the Raiders showed up for OTAs, the voluntary OTAs yesterday, as Max Crosby was also in the building, which seems a little awkward, but he's there and he's ready to go for the Raiders.
I don't necessarily know that it's awkward because Max Crosby also, it came out this all started during the week leading up to the Super Bowl. It was Super Week. We were down there in San Francisco and Jay Glazer had the report that Max Crosby wanted out. But Max Crosby was also at the facility working out and getting treatment and going about business as usual. Max Crosby has always been the most professional about this entire process, about him being traded out of Vegas. And it is not surprising that on day 1 of voluntary, keyword there, voluntary offseason training, that Max Crosby is there once again, rehabbing and getting to know his new coaching staff and new coaches and all that kind of stuff. And probably meeting his new quarterback and Kirk Cousins or Fernando Mendoza, whoever the day 1 starter is going to be. But Max Crosby has always been at the facility. He's never been away from the Raiders and saying, I'm not going anywhere near you guys. This is what I want. Trade me, I'm out. He's always been, back channels have always said that he wants out and that he wants to be traded. And they did trade him to the Raiders or to the Ravens, and then the Ravens went back on it. But even then, he was rehabbing and practicing and going through training at the Raiders facility. So to me, it's not surprising that day 1 you get, because now the cool thing is to do the slow-mo walk-in. That's social media, the 2026 slow-mo walk-in. You get the slow-mo walk-in of Max Crosby to the facility. I'm not surprised.
Well, but it is a little playing both sides. And we've seen this with Max Crosby. It's currently going on in Milwaukee with Giannis Antetokounmpo. You say publicly you want to be there, but all the back channel stuff suggests that you were forcing your way out. And he was not happy that the Raiders shut him down at the end of last season. He wanted to keep playing, which credit to the player. That's great. Yeah. I love that a guy is willing to put his body on the line. He wants to be out there. He wants to play. It's the team's fault that they're in this situation. But he also wanted a trade. Let's call it what it is. He wanted, publicly, he's saying that he's a Raider for life. He wanted a trade. Let's be real. Yeah. Giannis is doing the same thing. Publicly, he's trying to say that he never asked for a trade. You did. You're not going to be with the Milwaukee Bucks much longer. That's going to be the case. Now, for Max Crosby, the fact that you're back with the Raiders, you had to go back to your ex after you were out. You thought you had a fresh new start. You thought that you had a whole setup there in Baltimore. And you go back. So I think it's an interesting situation. I wonder if at any point, I know that publicly they've said that they want to keep Max Crosby and they want to build for the future. I wonder if the trade rumors kind of pop up again at some point, that the Raiders are actually going to trade Crosby at the end of the day. You know, like there are teams out there that need an edge rusher. Yeah. So I'm sure, and we might hear this around the draft.
You got 2 weeks.
That there's a lot of teams that may be willing to sniff around and see if the Raiders would still be willing to move off of Max Crosby. You know, it was said around the time that the Cowboys were interested, but then they made their move for Rashawn Gary. So it's like you already made a move to try and trade for someone for an edge rush position. There's a bunch of other teams we could probably come up with that also need edge rush help. Almost every team in the league needs help on the edge. So I think that that's what we're looking at with Crosby. The others, so there's three names. Fernando Mendoza, he was there for his official visit. Max Crosby was there. He was there for the OTAs. And Tom Brady was in the building.
Oh.
How about that? Good old Tom Brady, part owner of the Raiders. He was there.
Fox broadcaster Tom Brady.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Well, he does. I mean, it's not. It's one of his job titles, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes, it is. This really bothers
It's
you.
one that he takes very seriously, isn't it?
He
broadcasts games.
It really bothers
of
you.
Other teams, and he gets insight.
That Tom Brady is hanging around the team that he's a part owner for.
Yeah, but also other teams.
Well, he's not gaining any advantage hanging out at that facility. The advantage he's gaining is in the season talking to other coaches and teams about their game plans and what they're doing. That to me is a conflict of interest.
Absolutely it is.
But being there now.
No. This is fine. This is all fine. This is all fine. And he should be there as a minority owner and an investor in this team. You want the most value in your investment. You want the most return on your investment. And what's the best way to get a return on this investment? Turn the organization into a winning franchise. And how do you do that? Oh, I don't know. You're drafting a quarterback number 1 overall. Maybe since you're one of the best quarterbacks of all time, you've got 7 rings. Maybe go to the facility and talk to the quarterback that you're going to be drafting. And then once you draft him, maybe show up every once in a while. And, you know, I'm not saying you have to coach him and be a part of practices and all that, but be a springboard of ideas, be something, be a mentor of some form to Fernando Mendoza. Isn't that the idea? Isn't that the case? Like if he was a part owner of any other franchise that had a young quarterback, whether it was the Titans and Cam Ward, whether it was the Bears and Caleb Williams, whether it was if he came back and was a part owner of the Patriots and Drake May, you would want him to impart some of his wisdom and the way he went about turning himself from not a number 1 overall draft pick, but someone who was drafted extremely late in the draft and turned himself into a 7-time Super Bowl winner, and the work ethic that we know he has, and how he's in the most respectful way possible, a maniac when it comes to prepping for games and watching tape and getting ready and being the most prepared person possible, how he can impart all of that into a young quarterback coming into the league. I would want if I was any part owner of the Raiders, minority, majority, whatever, investor in the Raiders, I would do everything I could to be like, Tom, get help. We need this.
Well, and I think that's where we had the story a couple of weeks ago that put in question what was actually going on. What was his actual role? The fact that, and I think it was Pro Football Talk that had that story, that Mark Davis, the owner, and what he said Tom Brady would be doing and what Brady has done to this point, it seems like there's a miscommunication on what Brady expected to be as a part of this franchise and what the Raiders thought he was going to do. And then where the gray area of what is taking place. And then on top of that, you have the side story of his workout guy, Alex Guerrero, who there's stories about him walking around the facility, acting like he owns the place type of thing. And he was the one that told Max Crosby that they were shutting him down. And it was there's all this weird, Brady gray area when it comes to the Raiders on what he's supposed to be doing. So it's good. You're right. The fact that he's participating and he's there now, that is good for the Las Vegas Raiders. Kirk Cousins was on Good Morning Football, and he talked about Tom Brady playing a big role in signing with the Raiders.
Just FaceTimed with Tom for a minute just to kind of get on the same page and understand his vision for the organization and kind of what he saw up ahead and if I would be a good fit for it or not. And I got off the call and I called my wife. I said, that was a really life-giving call with Tom. You know, he gets it. He's been where I've been and then some. And I think he understands what it needs to look like, what it will look like. And I felt really like a shot in the arm, after talking to him. And I felt like that was a big nudge for me to come to Vegas. And then he was in the building yesterday for our first OTA day. Didn't expect that, but he stopped by the quarterback room and was able to kind of catch up with him in the cafeteria. So, and he just wants to be a resource. I don't know that he's going to be around all the time, but he's always a phone call, text away. And I think, to have a guy who's won 7 Super Bowls, a phone call or a text away, who's embedded in your organization, it's got to be a positive.
That's Kirk Cousins on NFL Network talking to Good Morning Football. And I agree. And I think for Fernando Mendoza, going into a spot where you have Kirk Cousins and Tom Brady as sounding boards, it's pretty good. I don't know if you can find a better situation for a young quarterback than that.
I mean, if he was guaranteed to start, yeah, that'd be
I'm just talking about the advice you could get from 2 former players, who did at a very high level, and put to the side what we think about Kirk Cousins now. He was a very successful quarterback in the NFL.
Anytime you've played as much football as Kirk Cousins has, you can impart that wisdom. Like, you can say, look, it's getting used to the speed of the game. It's him saying, hey, when Fernando Mendoza comes off the field after throwing an interception and he sits down, as opposed to sitting down next to another rookie or a perennial backup, he's sitting next to someone who started in the league for a very long time. That's the difference. The difference is someone who's played in playoff games as opposed to someone who is, like, no offense to these guys that are the lifelong backups, but lifelong backups. Like, there's a big difference between the guy you're talking to on a regular basis and in that quarterback room on a regular basis than guys that you're just being propped up as with other backups or guys that were drafted later than you in the same draft, like we've seen with the Browns, right? Like, you're right, having Cousins there, having Brady coming in and out as much as he can. I think the more Brady is there, the better for both of them.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So that's the latest with the Las Vegas Raiders. If you want to join us, you can call or text us today at 310-840-4910. The question we threw out there earlier, the most disappointing franchise in pro sports, because what we were talking about is we played audio from Michael Reinsdorf, Bulls CEO, and the ownership group that run the Chicago Bulls, the Reinsdorfs. Jerry Reinsdorf, his son Michael, runs the team, the Chicago Bulls, and they don't know how to get out of their way. And what they used to be and what they are now is very disappointing. We played sound from Zach Lowe saying that this is one of the most disappointing teams in sports. And it got my head thinking, and you can text the show at 310-840-4910, other options of teams that are extremely disappointing in pro sports. Now, the one thing I would throw out there with the Bulls is they were at once a great team. They've won 6 championships.
Yeah.
They've got a worldwide brand. So when you say, here's an option, it's got to be a team that's actually achieved something in the past. You mentioned the New York Jets. I think the Jets are good. I think they seem like they are in a hopeless situation for the future. So I think the Jets make sense. A team that I threw out there, I don't think the Cowboys count, because even though the Cowboys used to be a great franchise winning championships, they haven't won a championship recently, but they're trying. They're trying to correct it. The Miami Dolphins are another team in the NFL that they are so far away from actually being good, and their ownership is terrible, that I think the Dolphins are one of those teams. And I know that in the players' survey that they released from the NFLPA, they voted Miami pretty well on all of the facilities and all that stuff, but your team can't get out of its own way. They make bad decision after bad decision. Here's a text from the 541. The most disappointing franchise, no hope. The Oakland A's, formerly the Oakland A's, the Sacramento A's, or whatever they're calling them now to soon be in Vegas. The A's. That's from a texter in the 541. That's a good option.
Yeah.
The A's. The A's used to be a championship level team. They seem to have no hope.
Yeah, they're not even trying right now. Again, like you said, they have no home. I would say the Jets. The Jets are trying, but they're not trying well. I mean, look, when you have Justin Fields last year and Geno Smith this year, are you trying? I don't know if that's trying. I mean, no one thinks they are. I would throw the Knicks out there as a team that they also try and they've got hope, but I don't think
hope.
Yeah, but no
they
one thinks
could win this year.
They're not winning this year.
But they could.
They could, sure. A lot of things could happen.
That's different than having your owners say that we're firing our front office, but you got to keep the coach.
Yeah, well, yeah,
because that happened in Chicago yesterday.
That is
that's
true.
why the Bulls get brought up. How about from the 614, the Cleveland Browns?
Yeah, that's fair. The Browns don't know how to get. I mean, the Browns have Deshaun Watson, they have Shedeur Sanders, they have Dylan Gabriel. They don't know how to get out of their own way, and they paid, for Myles Garrett the most money in the NFL. So, like, what are you doing? Try to build a team. I know they're trying. They're saying they're trying, but they have no hope either.
So keep the texts coming at 310-840-4910. The most disappointing team in pro sports. Are the Chicago Bulls it? They used to be great. They no longer are anymore. Are the Cleveland Browns telling us who their number one quarterback is based on what they're doing on social media? We'll explain that coming up next.
At Augusta, the pines stand tall, the azaleas are in bloom, and history waits with every swing. The Masters begins Thursday, and we're live from Augusta. Hear every moment on the Westwood One Sports app from Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Does it matter what teams are doing on their social media platform in regards to kind of promoting players?
Yes.
Because it does seem like the Cleveland Browns have been out there letting you know that Shedeur Sanders is their number one guy.
I think it does. Yeah, I think it definitely does because I remember you and I broadcasting out of Chicago when Mitchell Trubisky was drafted, and who did they sign right before him?
It was Mike Glennon.
Mike Glennon, and they tweeted out a QB1. The social media team tweeted out a QB1 graphic, and the reports were that the team, with the coaching staff and the team, were not happy with the social media department doing that.
I think the one thing that I look at with this, it's Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. So the Browns have been out there on social media as the players arrive. You know, the slow-mo video of Shedeur walking in. Mm-hmm. They've really hyped up Shedeur Sanders as the number one guy on their social media team. But we've done this long enough to know that just because that's what the social media team is doing isn't necessarily what the team is doing.
I'm aware, but
like those two departments don't always cross paths. And you're right. There have been situations before where a little social media person thinks that they're being funny, crafty, whatever, and they're sending stuff out, and it's not what the team is actually planning on doing, and then they get in trouble.
I think the person that's most upset with this is probably Deshaun Watson, who's probably like, hey, man, what's going on? But then again, the Browns are probably like, hey, listen, if you win the job, you win the job. But we're not out here to promote you because of what's going on. And also like restructuring your contract and everything, you're basically a free agent at the end of this year. So if it doesn't work out this year, you're done and gone. So I think that with Shedeur Sanders, too, we also know, going back to what the NFL has done with Shedeur Sanders, adding him to the Pro Bowl games, they know that Shedeur Sanders is a lightning rod, and Shedeur Sanders generates a lot of clicks.
Well, yeah, it's clickbait.
And a lot of views.
That's what this is.
And yeah, so adding Shedeur Sanders to the Pro Bowl games doesn't mean that Shedeur Sanders is a Pro Bowl. Look at his numbers. And when you make all these social media videos, you and I are now spending time talking about it. So this is what they're doing. Mission accomplished by them.
Yeah, and I think that you can put this out there. All of the teams have their own social media departments. They're out there promoting their players, the team itself. I don't have a problem with it. I also don't think it really matters. I don't think it really impacts anything. I mean, it may inflate Shedeur Sanders' ego, but it's already pretty large, no? I mean...
Yeah, I don't think it needs any inflating.
He thinks he's the guy to begin with, even though his numbers are not that great. And so when you look at it for the Cleveland Browns, I don't know if it really matters. I think this is just social media people doing their job.
I think so too, but they could also, I don't know if he's there, but like Myles Garrett is a very marketable player, like there are other.
He's not there.
Like, okay, well then there,
Yeah.
then there you go.
Myles
Like,
Garrett is not there, and Todd Monken spoke today saying that he's not concerned over it.
yeah, I wouldn't be either. I'm not, hey, get to the quarterback.
Thanks, Todd.
There you go. There's your job. Get to the quarterback, and you do a pretty good job doing it last time I checked. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not concerned, and I think if Todd Monken was asked about it, he just goes, we're going to have an open competition, and whoever wins, wins. I don't care about social media videos and what slow motion videos you guys put out. So I don't think it matters ultimately, but it certainly doesn't help the situation to put these videos out as if Shedeur Sanders is your quarterback one.
I think it's nothing. I don't think it matters either way.
Okay.
I mean, it helps their social media.
Sure it does, of course.
Because people are going to click it, and then people are going to react and say, oh, he's really number one. It's like, is he really?
It's also the Browns. They're the Browns. They're not the Ravens or the Steelers or the Bengals. They're gonna finish fourth in their division, at the bottom of their division again. Show me slow-mo videos of Joe Burrow.
It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app, hanging out with you until 3 Eastern, and then Jim Rome will take over right here on Westwood One Sports. Yesterday, Michael Malone was introduced as the new head coach at North Carolina. I think that he was the fourth choice. I think North Carolina was told no by two coaches in college basketball, and I think behind the scenes and back channels, they were told no from Billy Donovan as well. I think that this is the fourth choice on the short list, and what happened was North Carolina got desperate. They knew the transfer portal was open. They knew they had to land a head coach. They needed to make a move. They had to do it quickly, and they settled for Michael Malone as their new head coach.
Well, he also told them no. So technically, how does that factor into the? He was told him no, and then he also had to be convinced to take this job. So does that count as a fail as well? Does that count as a number? Is this actually their fifth choice because he said no and then had to be convinced?
Side note on this, I've got something for you that I want to bring up after we listen to Mike Malone. Remind me to bring this up about Mike Malone and the possible options he would have had.
Okay.
Before he took this Carolina job. Because I think there's something really interesting out there. And I don't, like, when you say he had to be convinced, that makes me believe that, like, this is not going to be a great setup for Michael Malone. This is yesterday, introduced at North Carolina. Michael Malone talked about the difference coaching college against the NBA.
Well, I mean, I still don't understand why college basketball is the only level that plays 2 20-minute halves. So, I got to get my head around that. But I think at the end of the day, basketball is basketball. And players, not only do they want to be coached, but they also want to know that you care about them. We used to say in the NBA, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I believe that, and I buy into that. But once again, as I continue to build a staff and have great coaches around me that can not only help me, but also challenge me to become the best coach that I can be at this level. And, I have no doubt that's going to be a process that, I attack. And obviously I think I have a really good job. I've done a good job of showing that I'm more than capable of coaching at any level. We had great success in Denver, and I have the utmost confidence that the same success is going to follow here to Carolina.
I, too, agree with Michael Malone. Why does college basketball only play 20 minutes in a game? 2 halves. Why do they do that? How about that?
It shouldn't be something the
Michael
head
Malone,
coach
new head coach of North Carolina.
Of North Carolina basketball says.
Isn't that great?
In his opening presser, he also says that he had to be convinced to take the job. It's a real ringing endorsement of the North Carolina program, isn't it? Oh, man.
Isn't that incredible?
So tell us your tale about why you think the options for Mike Malone would have been great.
Well, no, it's not a tale. It's some news information I saw earlier today from Jake Fisher.
Okay.
Jake Fisher, really good in the NBA, covering the NBA. He works with Mark Stein. They do a great job. Here's the quote that he had in his piece from earlier today. There's going to be 8 to 12 changes, end quote. One league source with direct knowledge of the coaching market in the NBA said to Jake Fisher for this offseason.
What?
8 to 12
What is this?
possible head coaching openings in the NBA this season.
What is this, the NFL all of a sudden?
So lay that out there. If Jake Fisher is reporting that a source is telling him that there's going to be 8 to 12 coaching openings in the NBA this season, and Michael Malone just took the North Carolina job, he probably should have held out and waited for an NBA gig.
You think?
I think that's the way I would suggest it. He probably should have waited to see what opens up. To see, you mentioned disappointing teams. You keep mentioning the Knicks. If the Knicks flounder and they don't advance in the playoffs, you think that they're not going to make another change on top of a change?
Well, I mean, the Knicks have they obviously, I think they could do. I'm not saying they could do better than Mike Malone, but it's not just the Knicks. There's Orlando.
There's tons of teams.
I mean, assuming that Billy Donovan stays or doesn't stay, then
I mean,
there's a Bulls opening.
I think there's pretty obvious that there's going to be an opening in Milwaukee. I don't think Doc Rivers returns there.
Okay.
Based on what goes on with Philly, I don't know. Could Nick Nurse be out in Philly? I think there's a lot of spots where you could have possible coaching changes. So that being said, the fact that Michael Malone had to be convinced to take the North Carolina gig, I think is interesting.
Which is crazy to me because it's North Carolina. We talked about it as being one of the prized jobs in college basketball, but also we know that Tommy Lloyd stayed at Arizona, and he's one of the top paid coaches in college basketball right now. Nate Oates got an extension at Alabama. He's one of the top paid coaches right now, and Dusty May at Michigan has only been there for 2 years. Already got an extension last year after being there for 1 year, and Michigan could, I don't know if this is for a fact, but could have a bigger NIL fund because they have better boosters and a bigger donor group than North Carolina. I mean, listen, North Carolina has Michael Jordan, but I don't know how much money Michael Jordan's pouring into the North Carolina basketball program these days. So I know Michigan's getting a ton of money put into their NIL fund for both basketball and football. So if Dusty May thinks he can keep winning at Michigan, completely understand why he took his name out of the North Carolina gig. And Mike Malone is sitting there like, well, all right, I guess I'll take this job. It seems like something that he could have waited for if he wanted to take an NBA job.
So that's one thing that I saw in regards to college basketball I wanted to bring up here on the show. The other thing from Yahoo Sports that next week, the NCAA committee will discuss a new age-based standard for athletes eligible and their eligibility that would grant athletes 5 full years of eligibility from the time of their 19th birthday or their high school graduation. 5 years.
5 years.
This is from Yahoo Sports. 5 years. Well, I'm confused. What the hell are we doing now?
5 years, man.
5 years? I thought college was 4 years. Right? It's 4.
Mm-hmm.
College is 4 years. Why are we granting eligibility for
some?
For most.
For some.
Why are we granting eligibility for 5 years beyond your 19th birthday?
Well, also part of this is going to be that you're only allowed to transfer once unless you sit out a season.
I'm all for that. I'm sick of the transfer portal. I'm sick of it.
Mm-hmm.
It has not made college athletics better.
No, it hasn't.
It sucks.
It does.
And I get it. For those who want to say, but the coaches do it. Okay, then create a rule where the only ones that can jump into the portal are those where their coach gets fired and they're leaving.
That's fine.
Or leaving for a new gig.
That's fine.
And if that's the case, then fine.
Then it can be a free-for-all.
Sometimes you have to live with your decision. I don't understand this. Players or kids going to 4 different schools in 4 years.
Yeah, 5 years. I mean,
it's crazy.
Some people stay in college for 5 years. I don't really have a problem with 5 years of eligibility because odds are if you're staying
4.
But
you're in college for 4 years.
Yeah, but if you're really good, odds are you're going to the league or you're going to the NFL. Like it's I mean, come on. 4 years are for the guys that aren't playing professional.
No, 4 years is for normal people that go to college.
I understand,
Most people
but I'm
go
talking
to college
about
for 4
but
years.
I'm talking about 5 years of eligibility are for players that are going to be backups or not play at all in the NFL or the NBA. Like guys that aren't like Carson Beck, who's played forever. Like he's going to be a backup in the NFL.
What about that tight end from Miami last year that was like 29?
Yeah, he had a mortgage.
I mean, what the hell? Like, I get it. And I don't have a problem with the kids getting paid. Like, they should rightfully be paid for their services.
Yeah.
There's no problem with that. But the deal where you can just transfer every year to a different school and bounce around and then stay in college, sir, you're 25. Go be an adult.
Yes.
Go live your life.
Yes. Agree. I like the transfer rule more than I like the 5 years of eligibility. I think that that athletes should have to transfer once. It's better than having to sit out a year if you transfer within conference and all that kind of stuff. I get that. You should be able to transfer once.
But the old way of doing it, where you transfer, you had to sit out a year.
That's bad.
Okay, it might be bad, but it also limited the amount of movement.
I get it. But I think you should be able to transfer once without any repercussions. Once is fine.
It's better than what's going on now.
Yeah, you can't have a situation where every year everybody is always just like, well, got to recruit everybody again.
A whole new roster.
Every coaching staff has got to be like, got to do this whole thing again.
Well, and that's my argument when people want to say that a college job is better than an NBA job. It's not. Who was it? Someone just told us this when we were down in Indianapolis for the Final Four. Was it Nate Oates who said it to us?
Yeah.
One of the coaches said to us that the difference in the NBA is that some of the players are coming back.
Yeah, exactly.
They're on your roster. They've got contracts. You know that they're going to be there. In college, each year you have to re-recruit everyone that's on your team.
It's crazy. And I get it. But some Mike Malone wanted it more.
Apparently. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Pollen season is here, but a dirty car doesn't have to be. Wash it away with Tidal Wave Auto Spa for a quick wash and that clean car happy feeling. Find a location at TidalWaveAutoSpa.com. Here's a note in the NFL. Could the Commanders go after Brandon Ayuk? We'll tell you about that coming up next.
Michigan wins its first title since 1989. The Wolverines are on top of the college basketball world. A moment 37 years in the making. Westwood One Sports.
At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 4 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will be in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 3 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 2 minutes. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute, 30 seconds. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 1 minute. Stations, this is your final time check. At the tone, the broadcast will begin in 30 seconds.
This is Bleck and Abdalla on Westwood One Sports. Here's Chris Bleck and Adam Abdalla.
Jim Rome coming up in about 16 minutes right here on Westwood One Sports. I'm Chris Bleck along with Adam Abdalla. Check out our podcast on Apple and Spotify, and also like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Like and subscribe right there on YouTube. Bleck and Abdalla Show, we have the live stream up every day. And also, you can watch clips of the show right there on YouTube, Bleck and Abdalla Show. Thank you to Raj and to Roy for producing today's show, and Jim Rome coming up next here on Westwood One Sports. Where will Brandon Ayuk land? ESPN has an article up suggesting that the landing spot will be with the Washington Commanders. Does this make a lot of sense to you?
Yeah, I think it does. I think another weapon for Jaden Daniels in that offense. I don't see why not. I mean, as long as he is healthy and ready to play. And, it's weird because the San Francisco 49ers at the owners' meetings were kind of talking out of both sides of their mouths, saying, yeah, we hope to get something for him at a certain point when he's healthy and ready to go, but he could also be on the team. So I don't really know what they plan on doing with Brandon Ayuk. I am convinced he's not going to be on the team, that Brandon Ayuk will be on some other team, and the Commanders make a lot of sense. You add a weapon, and they need help. So I would say the Commanders do make a lot of sense for sure.
I think it's also important to keep your eye on Commanders general manager Adam Peters was in San Francisco when Ayuk was drafted.
Yeah.
So there is a connection there, and you usually see in the NFL guys who draft individuals, they always want to bring their guys in. And so I could see taking a flyer on Ayuk to suggest that they can get him back up to speed to what he once was with the 49ers and not the player that he was in the last couple of seasons. Bleck and Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. Abdalla here on the show today. We've been talking at length about the Chicago Bulls, because yesterday the owner of the team, Michael Reinsdorf, the CEO of the team, he's the son of Jerry Reinsdorf. Jerry Reinsdorf owns both the Chicago White Sox and the Chicago Bulls. Jerry, old man Jerry, he runs mainly the White Sox because baseball is his first love. So he runs the White Sox right into a ditch. And then his son, Michael Reinsdorf, runs the Bulls. Nepo baby.
Into the other
into
ditch.
a different ditch.
The other ditch on the other side of the road.
And so what happened on Monday was they fired their front office. I think a lot of this and why they fired the front office had to do with the fact that there was chirping. People nationally were pointing out how the Bulls have no direction. And they were once a great franchise, and they no longer are that good of a franchise. They haven't won in a long time, and outside of Michael Jordan, they really have never done anything.
Yeah.
So when you look at this entire conversation, we both have said that we like Billy Donovan, the head coach that's there. And if they want to interview Donovan to see if he could run the operation, I'm okay with that. See if that's something that you should do. Also, I'm okay if Donovan's the head coach for the future. That should be the decision made by someone running the team, though, not the owner saying that the head coach is going to be here and you just have to deal with it. And that's essentially what was said yesterday. Take a listen to Michael Reinsdorf on the process of talking to candidates if they would want Billy Donovan around, or if they don't, what their status would be as a candidate.
Yeah, I think if we're interviewing someone and they want, of course, now I'm giving them the answers, but if I interview someone and they're not sold on Billy, and they're not sold on a Hall of Fame coach, they're not sold on a person who's won championships in college, who's gone deep in the playoffs with Oklahoma City, who I believe with the Chicago Bulls every year, given the team that he was given, I think he achieved really good results. Not the results that we wanted, but that's not because of Billy. So if someone's not interested in Billy as our coach, and if Billy wants to be our coach, and someone's not interested in that, then they're probably not the right candidate for us.
So that was Michael Reinsdorf, the CEO of the Chicago Bulls. He does not speak often. It's rare that he speaks to the media. And if you had any question to why the Bulls are in the mess that they're in, just take a listen to yesterday when Michael Reinsdorf talked to reporters. He'll tell you that's exactly why they're in the mess that they're in.
Well, yeah, because everything is done backwards. You have a coach, and look, Billy Donovan's a fine coach. He's not a coach worthy of putting up on this pedestal that says we cannot move on from Billy Donovan regardless of who comes in as the GM or president of basketball operations. Also, who's to say that Billy Donovan's going to stick around? You're going to look really foolish if another job opens up, Orlando, New York, somewhere else, that Billy Donovan then bolts and takes another job.
Yeah.
Then what are you going to do? Then you've put all your eggs into the Billy Donovan basket, and now what? You're going to be looking and interviewing all these candidates and hoping that Billy Donovan sticks around. Well, what if the Knicks end up firing their head coach and he wants to take that job in after the first round or second round of the playoffs?
Yeah. It's not good. It really sets himself up to have egg on his face if Donovan leaves. Right? Like you don't have to say that. Like that's the thing that I think people need to understand with the Chicago Bulls. The people running the team are not polished and they don't know what they're doing. Right? Like they would like the team to be good. They don't know how to do this. The only time they've been good is when number 23 was wearing their jersey. That's it. Now, I get it. There was a little run with Derrick Rose and Tom Thibodeau and Joakim Noah. Those were nice teams. Those are good teams.
They were good teams.
We in Chicago, we love those teams. I'm talking about sustained success for a long time. If Jordan never happened, this team is not looked at as a great franchise.
No, absolutely not. They lucked into Jordan as well. Like and obviously it's great for Bulls and it's great for Bulls fans, but I think that what happens here now is how do you convince a GM, unless you already have someone in mind, and Billy Donovan already has someone in mind, unless he's getting the bump and he's the one becoming the GM or president of basketball operations. And that could be a possibility too. Otherwise, you must already have one or two candidates in mind that you know that are willing to take on Billy Donovan as their head coach. That's the only thing I can think of. Is this has already been predetermined, just like everything that these owners have done before, whether it's the White Sox or the Bulls. They did it with Tim Floyd after Phil Jackson. They did it with a numerous White Sox managers.
What about sleepy Tony La Russa in the dugout?
They did it with Tony La Russa. The second time they brought him back.
Taking his nap during the game.
Not even an interview. Just, hey, you want to come back? Sure. Okay, cool. You're coming back. Hey, Robin Ventura, do you want the job? No. Guess what? You're taking the job.
Yeah, they convinced a former player to take the job, even though he said no.
You're taking the job.
So this is just the way the Bulls run their business. So if you look at the team and you say, why are they no longer a great team, but they have got such a good brand and they sell out every game, look to the top. Michael Reinsdorf spoke to the media yesterday. He also admitted that when he hired Arturas Karnisovas, that he never met the guy. He hired him and never sat face-to-face with AK.
Weird.
And it was surprised that he was a bad communicator. Wow, what a shock. So these are this is the individual that will be running the search to find out what's going to happen with the Bulls in the future. Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports and the Westwood One Sports app. This story is on Variety, Abdalla. Here's the headline. You know the show Chopped?
I do.
On Food Network?
I love Chopped.
How about this? Chopped is getting a new spin-off series, Chopped Castaway.
Okay.
Chopped Castaway, where they will put chefs in the wild to battle elements across 2 grueling cooking rounds each week, and they will be out in the wild cooking in a Survivor-style setting. Chopped Castaway.
I don't need this. I don't need you to add another element to my Chopped. I like Chopped.
To my Chopped.
I like Chopped. And some people like Survivor. It's not for me. Some people like Survivor. Some people like Naked and Afraid. Some people
I've seen
like
that show.
Yeah. Some people like that.
Yeah.
And I don't need Chopped and Naked and Afraid.
No, that's a health code violation.
I don't need you to burn that thing.
No, well, yes, the meat.
Don't burn that meat
that you're cooking.
Don't burn it.
Yes, you don't want to burn it. You don't want to burn your meat that you're cooking.
You don't want to do it. Because what, they have to try to make fire in time also?
Yeah, like that's the part. I don't want to see them do survival stuff. I just want to see them cook. That's what Chopped's about. Like I don't want to see them try and make a fire.
You get a box, but then it's like, guess what? You have 45 minutes and you have to make fire.
No, that's not enough time.
I like seeing them mess with the ice cream machine and being like, don't try to make ice cream. Everybody knows that's a rookie mistake. Why are you trying to make ice cream? And then it's like, you made a really good ice cream. You just won, bro.
Well, there's also the lazy route where it's ice cream is the hard attempt.
Yeah.
And then the easy one that every restaurant goes to is bread pudding.
Bread pudding.
The easiest and laziest dessert. Delicious.
The crazy one is when they try to make a risotto, and you're like, oh my God, he's trying to make a risotto?
You do not have time to make that risotto.
A risotto in 45 minutes?
Yeah, Chopped Castaway will be a new show on the Food Network. It's Bleck Abdalla here on Westwood One Sports. Jim Rome and the Jim Rome Show is coming up next.
This is Westwood One Sports.